Hello. Well, the last time we were together, I placed a great deal of emphasis upon the proper pronunciation of the French language. And that's a challenge for us, for those of us who are English speakers, because the French language employs some sounds that we simply don't have in our phonics system. Or that we deal with in a different fashion. Proper pronunciation is not an easy matter, and it requires work, but it also deserves work. It deserves work on our part because you want to make the best possible impression as you're speaking with a French-speaking person. Unfortunately, I suppose, but nonetheless, it's just reality. The content of what you have to communicate is important, but that content can be looked at or received with less respect if the form in which you give it, that is to say, the way in which you say things, it is not up to proper standards. And so pronunciation will have an impact upon how seriously people take the thoughts that you share with them. So you want to make the most of the work we're putting in right now. We're working on pronunciation. But it's not just a matter of how other people receive you. It's your own self-image. You don't want to sound ridiculous. You really want to fit into the culture as well as you possibly can and be viewed as an educated person. And therefore, once again, proper pronunciation is important. And finally, I'd say just as a demonstration to that French-speaking person with whom you're communicating, that you respect their language, you respect their culture, and you respect them as a person. And so you're going to make an effort to replicate their language because you feel that it's worth the effort. And I said last time that the greatest challenges we face really, they're twofold. The first is the pronunciation of the letter R. Whereas in English, it is in the throat, and in French, it is also pronounced in the throat. But in French, there's some friction generated there. Easy for me today because my voice is already hoarse. Excuse me. But as opposed to the like in radio in English, you want like in radio in French. And so the R is a challenge for us. And then secondly, and probably most importantly, the pronunciation of the vowel sounds in French, especially E, I, O, U. Those four vowel sounds, if you don't respect their, if you don't maintain the purity of the sound, and avoid creating what I'll explain in a second. Once again, I'll review with you this idea of a diphthong. If you don't avoid creating a diphthong, you're not going to sound authentic as you speak French. Here's the review from what you heard last time. In English, we elongate vowel sounds and we change the shape of our mouth in the midst of what in French would be a single vowel sound. We say A, like the month of May, or O, like I mow the lawn, or oo, like in the moon. A moon, we say ooh. We see our mouth changes shape as we make that sound. In French, those three sounds, as opposed to A, would be E. Notice how nothing moves. Once I start pronouncing that vowel sound, my teeth, my lips, my tongue, my jaw, the shape of my mouth nothing changes. It's like my jaw is set in concrete. You tighten up the muscles in your face and you say, E. Two things happen. Nothing moves, and then secondly, I shorten, I abbreviate the duration of the vowel sound. In English, we elongate them, A, and in French, you cut them short, E. In English, we would say O. Whereas for that sound right there, for like in mo or so or to, in French you're going to say oh. Notice how once I start making the sound, nothing moves. Oh, oh, and I cut the sound short. And then last of all, ooh would be it would be ooh. However, more commonly or more challenge, I should say, comes in trying to pronounce the sound U, which is the letter U all by itself. U, like in du. Okay, so that's what we worked on last time. Want to continue with that kind of that emphasis in this class today as we turn right now to look at a description of the Richardson family story that you've been reading. In fact, you hopefully have already completed. I'm going to have you read a line of text, and then I will talk with you about the different elements to see just how accurate you were with your pronunciation. All right. So here we go. Take a look at this first line of from a summary of the Richardson story right there. All right. And if you would please read it for me, go ahead. I'm listening. Okay. Did you sound like this? La famille Richardson la famille Richardson est une famille américaine. Okay? Or American. Did you sound something like that? Now, it's probably difficult for you to either be honest about it or secondly, even discern whether you sounded like that or not. But maybe you have your parent in the room or maybe you have a teacher in the room with you and they're saying, yeah, you sounded exactly like that. But in any case, let me. This is what it should sound like, more or less, as far as the best I can do. La famille Richardson est une famille américaine. Now, Richardson. Let's talk about that for just a second. Richardson. You might say to yourself, their names are Richardson. Don't change the family's name. Well, the fact is, when I talked to you last week about Miguel Cabrera, the first baseman for the Detroit Tigers, and I'm a great fan of the Detroit Tigers. We say Miguel Cabrera. Well, his name is really Miguel Cabrera, but when he comes into this culture and lives in this culture, we're going to use the English phonics system in talking about him. It's the same as when you and I go to live in another country. For example, when I lived in France, my name was no longer Steve Nesbitt; it was Steve Nesbitt. And I just had to accept that it's normal. They use the French phonics system in pronouncing my name, and so instead of being Steve in France, I was Steve. And so don't be surprised when I say Richardson. Do notice when I say Richardson that I said R. I create that friction in my throat as I pronounce the letter R. R. Richardson. Okay? Other things in this sentence to pay particular attention to. I'm going to come back to this issue right here in a moment, but let's talk about this sound right there. If you said American, maybe you remember the accent mark. You've seen this enough in the phonics exercises of the Ulat, that the accent mark on the E, which goes in, let me see for your direct, it's like this for you. That sound is E. It's supposed to be E. And so you said A. And you thought, that's pretty good. I remember it was A. Well, it's not A. Look at the movement in my face and my mouth. A. It's not A. It's E. E. Once you start making that sound, let nothing move. And so American. I think I started to roll the R. I did a Spanish video just before this. American. Okay? Other things to point out. The E. It's E. It's not E. E. Like in me. E. It's Ameri. E. E. Nothing's moving. I'm cutting the sound short. American. Get that r. Create that friction down here in your throat. American. Okay? American. Now, I do want to go back and talk about this right here. You probably said a. I hope you didn't say un. Ooh, like a moon. Un. Hopefully you said E. Remember last week I told you that you say the sound E. Tighten up these muscles here. In the smallest possible opening in your lips. Say the sound E, but through the smallest opening possible. E. Now you've made the proper sound for the letter U. E. Okay. So in any case, hopefully you probably said a, une. But you may remember we've started talking about this idea of liaison. A liaison is when a word ends in a consonant, which usually is silent. Usually you say e, like le professeur est beau. Le professeur est beau. Il est très beau, hein? Which is a far-fetched idea. But usually we say e for this word here. And so the T is silent. In fact, the S is silent too, isn't it? But the T is silent. We say e. However, if the next word starts with a vowel sound like U, that T suddenly becomes pronounced and we form what's called a liaison. We connect the e with the une by pronouncing the T and we say est une. Okay? And that's why many times probably as we've done exercises up to this point, and before you were seeing the words in written form, where you wondered where did that sound come from? Why did Mr. Nesbitt put a T or a Z sound in that sentence. I didn't do it. I didn't say a reason for it. Now you understand why. It's because consonants at the end of a word are becoming pronounced when they're followed by a word starting with a vowel sound. And so it's called a liaison, a connection. And so, est une. La famille Richardson est une famille américaine. Okay, I've talked enough. Let's go on to this sentence right here. I want you to read this sentence. Ready? Hit it. Okay. Did you sound like Papa est professeur d'anglais? I hope you didn't. In my mispronunciation of that sentence, what things did you notice were poor? Papa est professeur d'anglais. Go ahead. What things did you notice that I did poorly? I'll say it again. Papa est professeur d'anglais. Okay, going from the back of the sentence, a, right? The sound anglais, the sound nothing moves, cut it short, anglais, okay? We haven't talked about what are called nasal vowels. You've studied them in your phonics exercises here in the first lessons of Unit 2, but we haven't talked about them. A vowel sound followed by N or followed by M frequently will be, that is to say, I say frequently, if there's not another pronounced vowel after, or there's not another vowel after it, it's going to be pronounced through your nose as though you have a cold. It's going to be what's called a nasal vowel. The sounds will be en for an or en for en, and kind of like a buzzer in a basketball game, for in, and on for on, and for un, and I've said n, but the same applies for m, am, em, im, om, also. We'll create a nasal vowel. That means pronounced through your nose, and so that's anglais, anglais. What else did you notice? Hopefully you mentioned that my R's, I was pronouncing the R down in my throat, but without creating that friction, which is typical of French. I was saying professeur, it's professeur. Another thing within the midst of that vowel sound, or that word right there, the letter O. If you said oh, you're creating a diphthong. That's changing the shape of your mouth in the midst of a single vowel sound. You want in French professeur, professeur. Okay, and then last of all, what happened? Here it was est une famille. Why is it not est professeur? Why is it not est professeur? Why is it et here, but est up here? Well, remember the liaison? The reason it's est une is because une starts with a vowel sound, but down here it's just et because the next word starts with a consonant, not a vowel sound, and so the T remains silent. Now, for those of you who understand the whole sentence, Papa est professeur d'anglais, you may well be thinking, you left out a word, Mr. Nesbitt. It should be Papa est un professeur d'anglais. Hein? No. Before a profession, you do not place the indefinite article a, like I am a teacher. You don't say je suis un professeur, you say je suis professeur. Now, if you modify the teacher with an adjective like I'm a good teacher or a lousy teacher or I'm an uncaring teacher, then you do add the article and you say Papa est un bon professeur or Papa est un mauvais professeur. But when you don't have an adjective defining the profession, you leave out the indefinite article which corresponds to the word a in English. You say Papa est professeur. Ensuite, let's try this. Yeah, this is a good sentence right here. Try pronouncing this next sentence. I'll have you read that, and then I'll talk about it and try not to berate you. Here we go. Hit it. That's a really good sentence. It's got a variety of vowel sounds. It's got a liaison, and it's just... it's a thing of beauty if it's pronounced properly. So hopefully you did not sound like il travaille dans une université. What do you hear as I pronounce this? Il travaille. I'll stop right there. Il. It's not il. It's tighten up these muscles. Let nothing move. Cut the vowel sound short. Il, not il. Okay? It's not an eel. And then travail. What do you hear in travail that's mispronounced? Yeah, that R, right? It's tr. And even I should be travailler, travailler, travail. Cut the sound shorter in the vowel sound itself. Now, when we get to this word right here, if you said dans, like I did, what's wrong with that? What's insufficient about dans une université? Yeah, we got this consonant sound at the end. This is how the word dans is written. All right, j'habite dans une maison. Dans is written with an S at the end, believe it or not. And that's one of the great challenges you'll face when in Chapter 5 we start writing the language, is that it's not an easy language to write, especially because of the quantity of silent letters which occur in words, like in this case right here. And so why is that S pronounced suddenly? Why is it dans une when Mr. Nesbitt pronounces it? Well, it's because, as you know, I'm sure by now, it's followed by a vowel sound at the beginning of the next word, and therefore it creates a liaison. Dans une, dans une. And by the way, I'm saying une, aren't I? And so that was another mistake in the way in which I originally mispronounced it. I said un, ooh. The letter U, say the sound I through the smallest possible opening, U, and you've got it. Dans une, U again, U. And by the way, this is important. Listen to this. Une université. Une université. I didn't say une université. I said une université. Notice how even though this is not the last consonant in the word, since the E is silent, I can, in speaking fluently, I run that N together and connect une with université because université starts with a vowel sound. So the last sound heard in the word une is a consonant. And it doesn't become pronounced, it already is pronounced in the word une. However, I can connect the two words to cause them to flow smoothly together. Dans une université. It's almost as though with dans, you may have three words together forming a single series, you might say, all connected by liaison. Dans une université. Dans une université. As opposed to dans une université. Okay, and then of course the way I just pronounced the sound A should tip you off to the fact that was a big mistake in the way in which I mispronounced the word. I said université, A. You want E, université. We'll do one more sentence, and then I'll give you a break. We'll do something different. Okay, let's try reading this sentence right here. Now, as you're doing it, think. Cut the vowel sound short. Once you start saying the vowel sound, don't move your mouth at all, okay, like a cow chewing its cud. Get the down in your throat, create the friction, I should say, in your throat, and look for any liaison that you need to make from one word to the next. Go. Okay, here's what you should not have sounded like. Elle reste à la maison et s'occupe des enfants. Okay? Generally speaking, why is that so bad, what I just pronounced? Well, it's because I'm loosening my muscles. I'm speaking in a very lax fashion with my muscles too relaxed when I need to tighten them up. Right, the muscles of my face right here, and say things, for example, like maison, not maison. Maison. The tightening of the muscles allows you to keep all the different elements of speech in one position, as opposed to sliding from one into another and creating a diphthong. S'occupe. Well, for s'occupe, obviously, the sound is not oo, is it? It's u. So s'occupe. And this is not o. So coupe. It's oh, nothing moves. S'occupe. Let's go backwards a little bit here. Here's another one of those nasal vowels, where you're pronouncing through your nose. That's the sound on. Maison. But of course, you already know that word. You know how to pronounce it because you've said it a million times by this point in the Ulat. Now let's go back a bit to another. Notice something else here. Reste. Now, there is no final silent consonant at the end of the word reste, right? And so the fact that this word starts with a vowel sound doesn't make any vowel sounds that are, doesn't make any consonant sounds that are usually silent, doesn't make them pronounced, but The last sound you hear in reste is a consonant sound. It is pronounced already, but what you're going to do is you're going to run these two words together, since the next word starts with a vowel sound, and say resta, resta à la maison, resta, as opposed to reste à la maison, resta à la maison. And then last of all, here's a good example. Well, not last of all, I have a couple of things to point out here. Here's the sound E. The ES creates the sound E, and so the word day for some kids, day, you don't want to say day, do you? You want to say de, e. And last of all, notice what I just started to do right there. I'm creating a liaison, aren't I? This S at the end of de usually is silent. We say des bonbons for candy or some candy, or des personnes, des gens, des personnes, des garçons, des filles. We say des. However, here, since enfant starts with a vowel sound, with a vowel sound, we're going to cause the S to be pronounced. The silent S becomes pronounced, and you run the two words together, creating a liaison, and you say des enfants. That's with the extra Z sound that you tended to hear in the past from Mr. Nesbitt, and you didn't know why. That's where the Z sound comes from, a silent S at the end of a word becoming pronounced because it's followed by a vowel. Des enfants. Notice the two, here you have two different nasal vowels, which are syllables pronounced through your nose, those nasal sounds. And notice the AN and EN have the exact same sound. Enfant. Okay. Well, that's good enough. That's just a quick review of some of the things we talked about last week as far as pronunciation is concerned. Work on it. Don't say, okay, the pronunciation aspect of this class is now behind us. We will now go back to our usual slovenly way of speaking. No. In all the exercises, whatever we do, be thinking about using proper pronunciation. Tighten up the muscles, cut the vowel sound short, let nothing move as you pronounce a vowel sound, and if you can remember, create the liaison where they're necessary. Here we go. Next section. Last week I did an activity with you where I asked you to, I give you an answer, and I wanted you, like in Jeopardy, the television show, I wanted you to try to form the question that must have been asked in order to get that answer. I was asking a little bit too much. It didn't go extremely well, I tend to think. And so let me make this a little simpler this week. Here you see we're in the middle of the story, the Richardson story. Mrs. Richardson has just taken her son and two sons, actually, the baby as well, to the supermarket. They've had to walk there because John's took the car to go to the train to go to his work at the university, and so I'm going to tell you the question in English that I want you to ask, and we'll see how accurately you can create it in French. Now, before we do that, let's review the interrogatives. What's this one right here? I'm looking at a number of different people in a lineup, and I'm picking out one of them. What's the question I'm asking? Yeah, it's qui est la personne, qui est le coupable dans tout ce groupe-là? Qui? I won't say it in English, but you know what it means. All right. And then the next one is this. In fact, I just said. Yeah, it's que. Qu'est-ce que c'est que ce truc-là? Que fais-tu? Qu'est-ce que tu fais? Que. Okay. What's the next one? I'm trying to find out from you how something which is really difficult. I just said it, but how something which is really difficult is going to be accomplished. And what's the word? It's comment. Yeah, comment. Comment est-ce que tu vas faire ça? Comment. And this one. Yeah, it's a little challenging because times have changed. We no longer wear wristwatches a whole lot. I probably should have a cell phone here, which I open up and look at the time. That would communicate better to your generation. But nonetheless, pretend there's a wristwatch right here. Yeah, this is quand, or à quelle heure. Quand or à quelle heure. For example, if I want to find out, quand is going to find out more or less when something happens, but it may be not a specific time, but rather in sequence, one activity after another. Like, quand est-ce que la fête va commencer? Hein? Quand est-ce que le concert va commencer? When's this party going to start? Or when's this concert going to start? You'd say, bon, quand tout le monde sera prêt, when everybody will be ready. Okay, but if I want to know specifically the time at which something is starting, I won't say quand, I'll say à quelle heure. À quelle heure est-ce que ce concert va commencer? At what time is this concert starting? Okay, à quelle heure. So either quand or à quelle heure. Generally the same idea, but à quelle heure is going to get a time, a specific time. And then, ah oui, qu'est-ce que c'est que ça? Yeah, où? Où est-ce que tu habites? Where do you live, for example? Oh, this one right here. It's a fine mess you've gotten us into this time, Molly. Yeah, pourquoi? Pourquoi? Mais pourquoi est-ce que tu fais ça? Ah, je n'ai rien compris. Pourquoi? Comment se fait-il que tu fais ça? Pourquoi? Pourquoi? And then, how about this one? Beaucoup ou un peu? Regardes-tu la télé beaucoup ou un peu? What's the question I'm looking for? I'm asking. Yeah, it's combien? Combien regardes-tu la télé? Souvent ou très peu? How much? Hein? Combien? Now, the expression how many is going to also be, except it's going to be combien de. Combien de, and followed by a noun of some kind. Like, for example, how many brothers do you have? Combien de frères? And by the way, the idea which communicates or conveys this idea of how many as opposed to how much is this. You see in the Ulat picture like a 1, 2, 3, I think. I'm counting. I'm looking for quantities. Okay, it's combien de quelque chose. Combien de frères as-tu? Combien de cours est-ce que tu as ce matin? How many classes do you have this morning? Combien? And then last of all, what's this one? Do you remember? Numéro 1 ou numéro 2? I sound like the eye doctor. Numéro 1 ou numéro 2? It's quelle personne sait parler français? Quelle est la personne ou quelle personne est-ce que tu connais le mieux? Hein? Which person do you know the best? This is the idea of which. Okay, quelle. So we've got, again, we've got qui, or où, or pourquoi, or quand, or à quelle heure, and then comment, or que, and then combien, or combien, beaucoup, un peu, and last of all, quel, again, okay? Those are the interrogatives. Now, as you form these questions we're about to work on right here, I'm going to make the statement for you. You're going to put the interrogative first, and then you'll choose to use est-ce que or inversion, okay? But do you remember from last week that you cannot invert a verb and a noun or proper name? You can't say, for example, this first sentence is going to be, why does Mama or Carol go to the supermarket? Why does she go to the... That's what kind of question is that? But it's practice. So why does Mama go to the supermarket? I can't say, pourquoi? Okay, here's Maman, and here's va. I can say, pourquoi va maman? I can't say, pourquoi va maman au supermarché? No. I've got to first put her name out front of the question. Maman, comma. Pourquoi? And I'm going to invert the subject and what? I should say the verb with what? A pronoun that refers back to maman. Now, what is the pronoun? Je, tu, il, elle, nous, vous, il, elle, that corresponds to maman when we're talking about one woman. Yeah, it's the word elle, okay? So I'm going to say, maman, pourquoi, here's elle va. Remember, you're using elle to refer back to maman. Pourquoi va-t-elle au supermarché? Or simply, pourquoi est-ce que maman va au supermarché? Got it? Okay, so it's only est-ce que you can use maman in the normal position as subject of the sentence. But with inversion, you've got to put the word maman at the beginning of the sentence, comma, and then a pronoun that refers back to maman. Pourquoi va-t-elle au supermarché? Well, I've already given that one away. I've talked about it a few too many times. So let's go on to the next question. This question is, why is Carol tired? Tired is fatigué. Why is Carol tired? And that means you're supposed to form that sentence. Try and create it. We don't usually translate the Ulat, but give it a shot. Okay, you start out with the interrogative. Pourquoi? And then you've got Carol. I can't say her name. I can't invert her name. So if I want to use inversion, I'm going to have to put Carol at the beginning of the sentence. Carole, pourquoi va... And what's the pronoun that refers back to Carole? Elle. I'm talking about her. Pourquoi va-t-elle Oh no, excuse me, I got the wrong sentence entirely. Maman, it's not va-t-elle, it's est-elle fatiguée? Maman ou Carole, pourquoi est-elle fatiguée? Okay, I could use est-ce que, couldn't I? Try using est-ce que. Say that same question using est-ce que. Yeah. Pourquoi est-ce que, now you can put maman in the usual position. Maman est fatiguée. Pourquoi est-ce que maman est fatiguée? Ben, c'est parce qu'elle se lève devant tout le monde, elle prépare le repas, et elle fait tout le travail dans la maison. Hein? Bon, numéro 22, number 22, let's try and form this. This is what. What does maman want to do? What does she want to do? Form it first using est-ce que. Okay, right. So est-ce que, as you know, is que. What. The idea of what is que, followed by est-ce que, which becomes qu'est-ce que. Qu'est-ce que Carole veut faire? Remember the first verb, you conjugate. The second verb, you don't touch. Huh? Veut faire. Say the entire infinitive form, the original form of that verb. Qu'est-ce que Carole veut faire? Qu'est-ce que maman veut faire? Okay, now let's try and form that same question using inversion instead of est-ce que to form the question. Don't forget about what happens with maman. I'm listening. Go ahead. Okay, to form the question using inversion, you can't invert Carole and veut. You can't say veut Carole. You've got to take the Carole and stick her out front of the sentence. Carole, que. Now, elle veut, right? Elle is the pronoun referring back to her. Carole, que veut-elle faire? Carole, que veut-elle faire? Voilà, ensuite, numéro 23. Okay, here I want you to say, please, where does Michael want to eat lunch? You may remember that after they go to the supermarket, that Michael does not want to go home and have lunch. He's tired. He's crying. Carol is too tired to prepare the meal, so he wants to go to McDonald's. Okay, who could blame him? And so he says, the question here is, where does Michael want to eat lunch? Hit it. Use est-ce que. Okay, hopefully you said, où est-ce que Michael veut manger ou prendre le déjeuner? By the way, manger or prendre, either one can be used for this idea of having a meal. In English, we say I eat lunch, or British English, I think they say I take lunch. But in any case, in French, you say that. Où est-ce que Michael veut manger le déjeuner ou prendre le déjeuner? You could say it either way, okay? Now, say the same question. Where does Michael want to eat lunch? Using inversion. Okay, without est-ce que. Reverse the suborder of the subject and the verb. Okay, because Michael is a proper name. Could have been a noun, but in this case it's a proper name. You're going to stick his name in the beginning of the sentence. So, Michael. Now we enter into the actual question itself. Michael, pourquoi, not pourquoi, it's où. Michael, où, and what's the pronoun referring back to Michael? Yeah, it's il, okay. Où veut-il prendre le déjeuner? Où veut-il manger le déjeuner? Michael, où veut-il manger le déjeuner? Voilà, il veut manger le déjeuner à Mato, et ça se comprend. Ensuite, numéro 24. How many hamburgers does Michael eat? Your turn. Go. Use est-ce que. Okay, when we're talking about how many of us, we're counting, looking for quantity, we're going to use the expression combien de, followed by the noun itself, in this case, which are hamburger. And so, combien de hamburger. Now notice, de, followed by a vowel sound, de hamburger. De hamburger, we're going to contract the two words into d'hamburger. Combien d'hamburger I said use est-ce que, so est-ce que Michael mange? D'accord? Combien d'hamburgers est-ce que Michael mange? Now let's try and say that same question without using est-ce que, using inversion. Go. Attaboy, attagirl. You want to put Michael first, his name first, because you can't invert a proper name with a verb. And so, Michael, combien d'hamburgers mange, and what's that pronoun referring back to Michael? Il, isn't it? Combien d'hamburgers mange-t-il? Okay, where's that to sound come from, by the way? Now that you've seen words in print, you've actually seen it's a hyphen, T, hyphen. I could go look for one for you, but I'm not going to do it. Just believe me. You've seen these a few times already now. Now, why do we put a hyphen, T, hyphen between the inverted ve and il? I'm sorry. I mean, we would with ve and il. Between mange and il. Okay? It's to cause the words to flow more smoothly together. Mange il, mange il. It's kind of like, look at a cow again, chewing grass. You want to make the words flow smoothly together, and so we throw in there the sound t, mange-t-il, to connect the two of them. So if a verb, when you're inverting the subject and a verb, if the verb ends in a vowel, a silent vowel, and the subject starts in a vowel sound like il and elle, to cause them to flow together smoothly without looking like manger, like that, you put a hyphen T hyphen in between the two, which makes things look much more kosher. Mange-t-il looks much more appropriate. Mange-t-il. So, Michael, combien d'hamburgers mange-t-il? Entendu? C'est bon? Let's do one more question together. Sure, why not this one? How much does Mama eat? Well, she doesn't eat much at all because she doesn't like hamburgers. She's just there to placate Michael. But in any case, how much does Carol eat? And use est-ce que. Go. Okay, I'm not saying how many hamburgers, how many. So I'm not saying combien de. I'm asking how much, a lot or a little. And so combien, est-ce que Carole mange? No problem. You put the Carole, the mange. You don't have to put Carole at the beginning of the sentence. We're not using inversion. We're using est-ce que. So, combien est-ce que Carole mange? Bon, elle mange pas grand-chose. Hein? She doesn't eat a lot. She doesn't like hamburgers. Now, say that same question using inversion, and watch out, because Carole is a proper name. Or maman is a proper name. Go. Voila. Maman. Now comes the interrogative. Combien, we get a word that refers back to maman, right. Combien mange-t-elle? Combien mange-t-elle? And once again, I put this hyphen T, hyphen, the sound t, in between mange and elle to make the words flow smoothly together. This one ends in a vowel, a silent vowel. This one begins in a vowel sound, so mange-t-elle? Mange-t-elle? Combien mange-t-elle? Elle mange pas beaucoup. Okay, last of all, just for a little conversation practice, let's try and I'll stop speaking English, and I'll have you, as you look at these pictures and think about the story, answer these questions about maman, and Michael, and le bébé, etc. Qu'est-ce que maman achète? Bon, maman va au supermarché avec Michael, avec le bébé aussi. Alors, qu'est-ce que maman achète dans le supermarché? Est-ce qu'elle achète un ordinateur? Non. Qu'est-ce qu'elle achète? Okay, don't just give me a single word answer. Don't just say la nourriture, or a single. I want to hear a subject and a verb. I want a complete sentence. Oui, maman achète de la nourriture. Hein? Elle achète de la nourriture. Ensuite, qu'est-ce que Michael veut faire dans le supermarché? Est-ce qu'il veut partir? Est-ce qu'il veut sortir du supermarché? Est-ce qu'il veut partir et puis retourner à la maison? Qu'est-ce qu'il veut faire? Voilà, il veut jouer, n'est-ce pas? Il veut jouer, hein? Deux verbes côte à côte, vouloir et jouer. Il veut, vous conjuguez le premier des verbes, et puis le deuxième, manger. Il veut manger, non, il veut pas manger. Il veut jouer sur le cheval, si je ne me trompe pas. Il veut jouer sur le cheval. Alors, qu'est-ce que maman veut faire? Est-ce que maman veut monter à cheval aussi? Qu'est-ce que maman veut faire? Ouais, hein, elle est crevée, elle est fatiguée. Maman veut rentrer à la maison, elle veut retourner à la maison. C'est une maison, un appartement, c'est une maison. Bon, et maman, maman, comment va-t-elle? Est-ce qu'elle va bien? Elle va super bien, maman? Comment va-t-elle? Oui, maman est, ou elle est fatiguée. Maman est fatiguée, ça c'est sûr et certain. Est-ce que Michael est heureux maintenant? Regardez, ils sortent du supermarché, hein, ils commencent à rentrer à la maison, retourner à la maison. Est-ce que Michael est heureux? Hein? Est-ce qu'il est content, Michael? Voilà, Michael ne est pas heureux. Notice how I said pas heureux, pas heureux. Now, what's that z come from? Yeah, because pas is spelled P-A-S. The final S is silent. Normally, we say pas, but when it's followed by a vowel sound, heureux, pas heureux, creates a liaison. So anyway, non, Michael n'est pas heureux, hein. Il pleure, en plus. Il pleure. Il pleure. Alors, pourquoi est-ce qu'il pleure? Pourquoi, regardez, pourquoi est-ce que Michael pleure?
Pourquoi est-ce que Michael pleure?
Oui, c'est ce que j'ai dit. Pourquoi est-ce que Michael pleure? Allez. Oui, Michael ne veut pas marcher à la maison. À la maison. Michael ne veut pas retourner à la maison. Il est fatigué, il ne veut pas marcher. En plus, il a faim, il veut manger. Et il veut manger chez McDo, n'est-ce pas? Alors, finalement, ils arrivent à la maison quand même. Et qu'est-ce que maman fait à la maison? Est-ce que maman s'assoit et puis est-ce qu'elle se repose et regarde la télé? Oui. Ben non, hein. Non, maman ne se repose pas. Maman ne regarde pas la télé. Maman travaille. Elle nettoie la maison, n'est-ce pas? Est-ce que Michael aide maman? Est-ce que Michael aide maman? Michael aide-t-il maman? Notice how I put the Michael first. This when I formed that question a second time and I used inversion, I didn't say aide Michael. No, I put Michael first, and then aide-t-il? There's the il referring back to him. Michael aide-t-il maman? Oui ou non? Non, ben non. Hein. Michael n'aide pas maman. Il regarde la télé, c'est un fainéant. Hein. Ensuite, là, nous sommes au restaurant McDo. Alors, maman et Michael, où prennent-ils le déjeuner? Où est-ce qu'ils prennent le déjeuner? Notice how I put the maman and Michael first, and then I used inversion here, and I used il in the plural to refer back to these two. Maman et Michael, où prennent-ils le déjeuner? Voilà, ils prennent le déjeuner au restaurant McDo ou à McDo ou chez McDo, ou, etc. Ils prennent le déjeuner au restaurant McDo. Et notice something else in that sentence right there. What was I want to point out to you? Wait. Why did I say il if Mama is part of the group? It's Michael and Mama, and she's a woman. She's not an il. Why did I say ils prennent le déjeuner au restaurant McDo? Correct. If you're talking about a group of people, whether it's two, like Michael and Maman, or whether it's a large group, as long as there's one male in the group, French uses the masculine form of the pronoun. Donc, il. Voilà, c'est bien. Ensuite, Michael aime les hamburgers, n'est-ce pas? Non, n'est-ce pas is, ain't it right? Isn't that right? Okay, so that's another way to form a question that we haven't really worked on much, but it's very commonly used. You just make a statement. Michael aime les hamburgers. That's a statement. Michael likes hamburgers. It's not a question. To make it a question, just throw on n'est-ce pas at the end, and you've got a question. Michael aime les hamburgers, n'est-ce pas? Oui, Michael aime les hamburgers. Voilà, tout à fait. Maman aime-t-elle les hamburgers? Notice that hyphen, T hyphen right there, because M ends in a vowel, and then L starts with a vowel, and so it's not to look like ML, it's kind of awkward. They put it in there to make the two words flow together more smoothly. Aime-t-elle, okay? Maman, aime-t-elle les hamburgers, oui ou non? Non, maman n'aime pas les hamburgers. And notice what I've done. Ne, is the verb, aime pas, and ne, aime, ne, n'aime, right? You form a contraction with a two-letter word in French, or sometimes three, like que, but generally speaking, a two-letter word ending the sound the sound e, like ne, le, me, se, te, and followed by a vowel sound in the next word. You're gonna create a contraction. So non, maman n'aime pas les hamburgers. Elle déteste les hamburgers. Dans le restaurant, qu'est-ce que Michael fait? Est-ce que Michael mange et mange et mange et reste à table et puis est-ce qu'il parle avec maman dans le restaurant? Voilà, Michael va jouer. Il va jouer sur je ne sais pas quelle structure qui existe dans le restaurant. Il veut jouer, donc il va jouer. Et à quoi est-ce que maman pense? À quoi est-ce que maman pense? Maman pense. Est-ce que maman pense aux hamburgers? Non. Est-ce que maman pense à papa? Pas vraiment. À quoi est-ce que maman pense dans le restaurant quand elle est assise à table et qu'elle mange tout doucement son unique hamburger? À quoi est-ce qu'elle pense? Ouais, bon, il y a beaucoup de solutions possibles, beaucoup de réponses possibles. Elle pense à sa vie, au fait qu'elle n'aime pas tellement la vie qu'elle mène. Elle pense, just to keep it simple, elle pense à travailler. Elle pense à travailler. Qu'est-ce que maman veut faire? Qu'est-ce qu'elle veut faire? Oui, voilà. Maman veut, the first verb you've conjugated, right? Vouloir, we made it veut. And the second verb, don't touch. Travailler. Maman veut travailler dans un hôpital. Maman veut être infirmière. Elle veut travailler comme infirmière dans un hôpital. It's kind of a sad story. It's not wrong with her working as a nurse. My wife's a nurse, and she's a great nurse. But it's why she wants to be a nurse, because she can't stand being home with the kids, because the kids are driving her crazy, right? And her husband doesn't help. Well, let's get into another story. Maybe I'll let you discuss that among yourselves. But in any case, the Richardson family is kind of dysfunctional. It will get better as the time goes by. That's it for this week. So what did we do? We talked again about pronunciation, and throughout all these exercises, did you suddenly let it slip, or did you little by little let it slip, or did you keep trying to keep that jaw set, tightening the muscles here in your face, shortening the length of your vowel sounds, creating the friction in your mouth? Did you? Hopefully you did. Or did you let it all slip and say, pronunciation, that was done with? No. Pronunciation carries itself through everything you do in French. The exercises you do with me, conversation with your teacher or with your parent, and more importantly, pronunciation will have a great impact in the future as you speak French with native French speakers, because you want to make a proper impression on them. You want to show respect for their language, etc. Next week, when we see each other, we're moving into now the topic of one's daily routine. That is the major theme of Unit 2, and how to talk about the sequence of activities you do in a day. And so you'll be learning some verbs such as to wake up, to get up, to brush your teeth, to comb your hair, to get dressed, and then things you do at the end of the day to get undressed, to go to bed, and in between things like to take care of children, to relax. Okay, those are all part of your daily routine. But there's another item you need in order to talk about your daily routine. That's how to express time, so that you can tell when you do such and such and such a thing. Okay, and so you'll be learning how to tell time in the next few lessons as well. So that's where we're headed, and we're looking forward to see you in a couple weeks. Au revoir, à bientôt.